This is Talking Drupal, a weekly chat about web design development from a group of people with one thing in common. We love Drupal. This is episode 519, DrupalCon Vienna. On today's show, we are talking about DrupalCon Vienna, what we can expect, and any surprise updates with our guests, Cristina Chumillas, Antonella Severo, and Catherine Tsiboukas. We'll also cover recipe trackers, a module of the week. Welcome to Talking Drupal. Our guests today are Cristina, Antonella, and Catherine. Catherine is a backend developer architect trying to build nice things and not delay projects too much. Antonella is a product manager at Nestle IT Global and has decades of experience leading digital transformation initiatives and multidisciplinary teams in global markets. At Nestle, she specializes in the development of scalable digital solutions for content management systems, enhancing both customer experience and operational efficiency. Antonella is the track chair of the client and industry track of DrupalCon Europe. Cristina is the Drupal CMS product design lead, Drupal core front end framework manager, and UX lead, and she has been defining and driving Drupal CMS product direction since the Starshot initiative started. She has been coordinating key design and UX initiatives in Drupal since 2017. She is also involved in Barcelona's local community organizing Drupal and other tech-related events, and she is open for sponsorship. We'll have more about that after the show. Cristina, Antonella, and Catherine, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you for
us.
having.
Thanks.
I'm Nick Lapham, founder at Enlightened Development, and today my co-hosts are James Sansbury, CEO of Tugboat. Welcome back.
Hey, everybody.
And joining us as usual, John Picozzi, Solution Architect at EPAM. Welcome back.
Hello, Internet friends.
And now to talk about our module of the week, let's turn it over to Martin Anderson-Klutz, a principal solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules and recipes of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, Nick. Have you ever wanted to track what recipes and their versions have been applied to your Drupal site? There's a module for that. It's called Recipe Tracker, and it was created in March of 2025 by Centauro as part of the Commerce Recipe Core, notionally the very first Drupal site site template. It has a 1.0.0 version available and is notionally actively maintained, although the project repo only has a single commit. It has never had an issue open against it, which is pretty good considering it is in use according to 207 sites according to Drupal.org. Now, after installing the recipe tracker module, every time a recipe is applied, the name and version of the recipe will be added to a new recipe log, along with the full package name of the recipe and the user who applied it, as well as the date and time it was applied. The module uses an event subscriber to generate a recipe log entity, so there should also be lots of API options if you want to extend how the logging works, for example, using Drupal's Entity API. This module was nominated by our own John Picozzi. So, John, why don't you kick off the discussion by telling us what inspired you to nominate Recipe Tracker?
I have no idea because I don't remember nominating it. Maybe because I thought it was cool, the idea of tracking recipes. I don't know. I'd have to look back as to why I recommended it. But I mean, ultimately, knowing which recipes you've applied feels like a pretty valuable thing to me, especially when you're working on a site and you kind of get long into working on that site. You might not remember what recipes you applied originally or back in the day. So yeah, that's probably where I was coming from if I have to think back to it.
I could also see for somebody who is taking over maintainership of a particular site, being able to sort of look back at the history and knowing what recipes a site was built on could also be pretty useful information in terms of understanding, what the path forward might need to look like.
I think it's also good for an audit trail too, but the problem is that most recipes are going to be applied locally, right? And this is going to be a database entry, which you're not going to push up. So unless you hook into it and send that event subscriber thing to somewhere else, it doesn't really, it's not going to persist anywhere. That makes sense. So I wonder, even for the projects where we apply recipes over and over again, like the one that we do for CSV headers to keep things in sync. We're applying those locally and exporting the configuration. So I think this is interesting, but for a different reason. And that's because there's a very old issue in the Drupal core issue queue asking for notes and tracking when modules are installed and just uninstalled. Um, the framing around that actually was, I thought, a real scenario, but also made me chuckle because somebody said, I have a really big site with thousands of modules and I don't know why I installed all of them. So I'd like to have a note to remind myself. And
Yeah.
my first thought was like, well, you should have that documented somewhere. Because again, if you do this, it's not going to happen on production. It's going to happen locally, ideally in Drupal 8 plus.
Do people
But
document? Is that something we're supposed to do?
Mm.
Oh,
yeah, fair enough. That's an ongoing problem.
I don't
it
know
would be
whatever
documented
you
in
mean.
version control, right? Like if you're adding a module, wouldn't you be able to see in the git commit history?
Well, yeah, and I mean, also you would be able to see the fact that, well, I don't know if that module changed config, you'd be able to see config come along with that, or you enabling that
Mhm.
module. So, I mean, that only kind of works if you enable the module. So if you install it and don't enable it, then, but I mean, I think the other aspect here too is that, which version of a recipe is installed or applied, I guess I should say.
Applied.
Right? Like I feel like that's super useful, especially if you have, again, like you've been working on a site for a while, you applied a bunch of recipes, and now you have a new version of that recipe that you may want to consider applying. Like I think it's good to be able to compare those things
Yeah.
and have that historical track of what you've done.
Well, thank you, Martin. As always, you found an interesting module of the week to talk about. And I think last parting thought is you said there's only one commit, but this is one of those modules that I feel like it kind of does what it needs to do. And I can't see it really ever needing any additional updates other than maybe an easier way to like send the message somewhere that it makes sense to store it other than the local database, which isn't going to get onto production. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you could maybe provide like a configuration option to like write a text file or something. To your point,
Yeah.
is something that could be committed to Git
Yep.
to have sort of something that would live where other people could see it. But yeah, I think you're probably right. It's by design fairly contained in terms of what it tries to do. So that's probably why it hasn't needed a lot of ongoing code changes.
Nick's also assuming that people aren't running DB log on their production site, which,
No, I mean more people aren't applying recipes directly on their production site. But I guess with Drupal CMS, that's less of a concern. So or
Yeah.
less of a reality. Maybe this
oh,
does
I
make
see.
sense.
I see what you're
Yeah.
that's
saying now.
true.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
so Martin, if listeners wanted to suggest a module of the week, what's the best way for them to do that?
We are always happy to have lively discussions about interesting projects in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can reach out to me directly as Manclue on all of the Drupal and social channels.
Thanks, Martin. See you next week.
See you then.
So Badcamp is coming. Badcamp President John Keeley is here to tell us more about it.
Are you ready to innovate and connect with the best in the Drupal community? Then mark your calendars for Badcamp 2025. Join us on Thursday, September 25th and Friday, September 26th, 2025 at Oak Stop in downtown Oakland for 2 days of learning and networking. This year, Badcamp is focused on how to leverage AI using Drupal. Discover exciting talks like Accelerating Innovation, the Drupal AI Initiative by Kristen Pohl, Getting Hands-On with Drupal AI, Building Smarter Sites with Zero Code from J. Matthews Sanders, and explore 3 ways to use AI in Drupal, chatbot, smart search, and code generation with Sal Lakami. Badcamp is a free community-run event focused on learning and inclusivity, bringing together hundreds of Drupal users, developers, marketers, and content specialists. Our camp includes technical trainings, industry-focused summits like Higher Education Summit, conference sessions, and an exhibit hall, and crucial community contribution opportunities. Don't miss this event. For more information, visit badcamp.org. Interested in supporting this amazing community event? We need your help. Contact us for sponsorship opportunities at sponsorship@badcamp.org. That's badcamp.org, your destination for Drupal and innovation. Register, and we'll see you in September. Take care.
Thank you, John. All right, let's move on to our primary topic. Who can tell me when DrupalCon Vienna is?
Sure. It's in Vienna, and it's in October from the 14th to the 17th. So just a few weeks from now.
Oh, that's pretty close.
It's
Nice.
coming up pretty quick. I'm wondering, how was Vienna selected to host DrupalCon?
I think that they keep rotating among cities. So they've been to Vienna in the past. So I guess they're going back again. But I don't know why it was chosen specifically.
I'm always interested. I guess I'm gonna have to do some deep research on that, because I always feel like I know, in North America, at least the last couple years, there's been a little bit of repetitiveness, because I think they got a better deal on the location if they said, hey, we'll bring it back a couple of years in a row. But I'm always very interested in how they select the location.
I think I was talking to Kwani, who manages this, and they're kind of limited in the cities in Europe that we can go to, because they have some logistical concerns, right? You have to have the right kind of conference. You want the conference center to be in a city where there's good public transit so that people can go out and enjoy the city, probably very similar to things that have to be thought about with any of the other conferences. But within Europe, there's a very small selection of cities that meet all of these. And that's why Antonella was saying, I think that Antonella, this is part of why they rotate the cities, right? They've only got so many here that
I was at a DrupalCon. It wasn't this past year in Atlanta. I think it was a couple years ago, but I remember stumbling into a group of folks in a hotel lobby, and they were like, hey, John, where should the next DrupalCon be? And I'm like, well, okay. And yeah, they were kind of hashing it out, which I thought was super interesting. But yeah, there definitely are requirements as far as convention center size and that sort of thing. Now, I know for North America, they've moved towards using hotels as opposed to convention centers, just because of the size of the event. For the European DrupalCon, has it always been in a hotel setting or more of a convention center setting?
is in a convention center. We're hearing talk about wanting to move it to hotels. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen, but that's definitely something that's been mentioned to both Jeremy, who is one of the co-chair along with myself for this year, and I've heard that about subsequent years that they might want us to be looking at hotels.
Interesting.
DrupalCon Asia.
Is that a hotel?
Already. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Last year at Singapore, and this year in Japan too.
Yeah, I'm curious. Have y'all been yourselves actively involved in the session selection for Vienna, or is there a whole separate team for that as well? So all three of you are nodding your heads.
Yes, very much involved.
Yeah. Okay. So are there specific themes y'all focused on in your selection process for this year?
Sure. So for the client and industry track, we're really excited because we're seeing some of the themes that we've wanted to get for a long time, beyond just the typical migration to multi-site settings, etc., which is great. But now we're really starting to see sessions that are showing the power of Drupal, unique uses of Drupal. And I'm also seeing this year something which has become a trend, is the move from Drupal just as a CMS to a platform. So I'm really excited to see those sessions.
Nice.
For coding and site building, there's we split this year. We split what used to be makers and builders track into two separate tracks. One was coding and site building, and then InfoSec and DevOps. And that's the world that sort of I'm in. So that's where I was focused as far as session selection was concerned.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I wanted to have in coding and site building was more senior level engineering talks. And so that was something that I pushed quite heavily for. And it's something that I asked the team that helped us select um, select things for that session to that track to think about. So we have this year focused in coding and site building on a little bit more senior engineering focused talks. We also tried, of course, we tried to keep in some more beginner friendly hobbyist type things, a couple of case studies, but that was as far as was there something that guided certainly what guided coding and site building was my own selfish desire to have more senior level engineering talks show up at DrupalCon. But then also we've heard from other people. Last year we had a great BOF where we got some of the senior Drupal contributors together and we said, what don't you like here? What would you like to see? And that was one of the things that they brought up kind of repeatedly was that the sessions are very focused on beginner stuff and they're not necessarily so enticing to people who have been working with it for a long time or who've been PHP devs for a long time. And I agree with that. I get behind that 100%. So that was the focus there. And then InfoSec and DevOps is what's on the 10, right? That's going to be related to those as well, which is quite fun. Hopefully it works out well and we can continue with this split.
Cristina, I imagine there are going to be some Drupal CMS related topics at this DrupalCon.
Yeah, there are several sessions related to Drupal CMS. So beyond like the Drupal CMS and its future itself, like the current status and the future itself, there is a session like Martin's session about recipes, one about site templates, obviously, and another one about Canvas. But there is like the very expected and really so many people is looking for that and expecting that is the multilingual. Both for Drupal CMS, at least for now that the work is happening on only Drupal CMS itself, but that has to come up for Canvas too. So there is going to be a buff related to that. Obviously, Drupal AI and the future of Drupal core. Although I gotta say, the track sessions the whole track sessions are great.
Interesting. So one comment and then a follow-up question. The comment is, I'm very happy that none of you use that catchphrase of AI. I'm sure the sessions will include plenty of talk on AI because every conference rather in the world is doing that. But I'm glad to hear that nobody was like, we picked a lot of sessions on AI because that's what people want to hear about. So that's awesome. Antonella, you mentioned something, and I want to just come back to it. You said that the sessions that you were seeing kind of positioned Drupal more as a platform than just like a CMS or like a website builder thingamajigger, right? Interesting to me because I've always I kind of thought over the last 2 years, 3 years maybe, that Drupal's been moving in that direction and doing a pretty good job of establishing itself as a platform. But you're saying you're seeing more of that now, which feels reassuring to me. Any additional thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, just from my own experience and the work that I do here, this is what I'm experiencing and the challenges that come with it. So I was happy to see this topic because we're working more than multi-site. We're working with digital ecosystems, the decoupled, all the different versions. Drupal is a backend, Drupal is a front end, etc. And we need to figure out a way to work with those integrations and to get our sites future ready for anything that comes. And Drupal is really well positioned for that because of the composable architecture.
Oh, to add a little bit to that, I think that's really good and strategic because actually, so beyond Drupal CMS and the strategy that we created for Drupal CMS, in parallel, the core committer teams nowadays called Drupal leads because there's people that do not commit, like the UX people. We are working on a strategy that it's taking a little bit longer than we would like to, but the goal is like to separate Drupal CMS itself from Drupal core, and Drupal core should actually be a platform, be the tool to actually build these platforms. That should be the focus, and Drupal CMS should be like one of these platforms, or the main platform itself.
Yeah, you both are preaching to the choir here. I've been on my soapbox about Drupal as a tool to build platforms for a long time. So I'm excited to see that there's some realization there. Kind of makes me sad that I'm not going to attend DrupalCon Vienna, but I'm holding out for an Italian DrupalCon.
So you guys are all kind of heavily involved in organizing Vienna. What are some kind of notable sessions that people should look forward to then specifically?
I mean, from my point of view, as the client industry track is always getting different industries. So this year we have some new industries here. We have something from the sports industry. We have different, one from UK's biggest free TV platforms. We like to see the ones from our nonprofit organization and governments. So we have a lot of really interesting sessions, and the different use cases that they're using it for, and how they're bringing value to their businesses or organizations to achieve scalability on a global level.
Okay. And Catherine, you mentioned that there's going to be a lot more kind of deep engineering talks. Any in particular that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, an easy, almost cop-out answer to this is that we've got Derek Rethens and Sebastian Bergman and Andre Mertes coming. Andre is going to do an advanced level. Well, they're all doing advanced. We've asked them all to really kind of set their audience as an advanced audience. So Andre will be doing a session on, of course, PHP stand. Derek will be doing a session on Xdebug, and Sebastian will be doing a session on PHP unit. And those sessions will be advanced. So that's nice. We also have some module maintainers. We've got, oh Lord have mercy, I've lost it now. We've got the module maintainers for, sorry, John, some of the AI modules and some of the AI work that are going to, they're going to show us some of the internals. I thought that'll be interesting to see from an engineering perspective, the internals of what they're doing there.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, so the AI piece of it, I feel like Drupal is probably ahead of, well, not probably. Drupal is ahead of the game as far as integrating AI into a CMS web platform framework. So, I mean, I do think it's interesting to talk about that and to promote that. And I'm glad to see. Is it Jamie and Marcus that are going to be there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Cool. It's good to see that they're getting out and spreading the word about how great Drupal is with AI.
Yeah, we've also got some non-engineering stuff that is interesting. We've got Yale coming out. They're going to talk about what they've done to simplify a site that they had that was very complex. It should be a really good case study in the way that they've used AI. That should be quite nice. We've also got some great agency and business sessions. What to do to grow new Drupal developers? What are people doing to do that? What are they doing to bring new talent in? I know that's a problem for a lot of us. I think we've kind of a lot of us have fallen back on the idea that you don't hire Drupal developers, you train them. And some of the case studies that are going to be presented are a little bit counter to that in ways that have worked out. So that'll be good to see from the agency and business perspective. And then, of course, we have the Drupal Business Survey every year. That's a session people like going to and seeing what all the agencies have to say about how this year's been.
Okay. And how about you, Cristina? Any in particular you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so beyond the Drupal CMS focus ones and obviously the Canvas ones, like the one about the marketplace, I think it's going to be interesting in terms of the future of not just Drupal as a product or Drupal itself as a code. On a code perspective, is like what's the future in there and what it means for all of us. And related to that, also like the site template sessions, both on a technical perspective. So people that is like working at agencies can either like reuse what it's done, find a way to reuse that work, to not start from scratch every project, for example. And also like on a design system perspective, Metacurrent has created this site design system and theme that will be used both for classic Drupal theming and Canvas at the same time with components. So that design system is going to be really useful for defining projects in the future.
Going back to AI, we did see a couple of interesting things come up where it's not just about AI. So one of the things that's important to us is sustainability and accessibility. And we got 2 sessions, one about can AI be made accessible? So I'm really interested to see what they will show there in terms of compliance. And also green UX with finding AI to help reduce the environmental footprint of our digital platforms. And this is coming from the airline industry. So I'm excited to see those 2 sessions.
Okay.
That's super interesting. Yeah. So I mean, I think like just listening to what you've all been talking about, like there's a wide range of topics, a little bit for everybody at DrupalCon Vienna, which is nice and important. I'm wondering. So I've been to a lot of North American DrupalCons. Typically we see some different formats, AMAs or panel discussions. I'm wondering if DrupalCon Vienna has any unique formats or even different kind of like sub events happening that we may not see at other DrupalCons.
Yeah, there is one that is a woman in Drupal, and so I know that some people will say, nowadays in 2025, we're still talking about that. Yes, we are obviously still talking about that because we haven't solved the gap. But beyond that, like something that I would love to highlight is that there are not enough people submitted. And most of the people that are well-known already have won one of those awards. So there is a huge challenge to find more people on the Drupal community that actually can win the award. And I would love for people to think about that and how is that a problem? Why is that a problem? And beyond that, just being in Europe in terms of like, who are we like proposing to win the award? Why is that complicated?
Can you talk a little bit more about that award? Like what are the criteria and maybe a couple of past winners to give us an idea, give our listeners an idea of who to think about?
So there are 3 categories. I'm blanking right now. I think there is the define, the build, and another one. And don't make me like explain which
Scale.
which goes
It's scale.
Scale. Yeah. Thank you. And I can think of like past winners. Like for example, I think Buddy from One X Internet, Pamela Baron, which is like the product manager or product owner from Drupal CMS, and I'm blanking right now. But yeah,
Stella Powers,
yeah.
Lena.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also, but yeah, so it's not about that. It's like more about like now that we've like got all the like the known people. Beyond that, why is not more people in there? And why is people not proposing? Because you cannot someone. So only people the award can only be given to actually people that someone has proposed.
So you need nominations, is what you're saying. Yeah.
So question on that, are they still open? Because it looks like, according to the website, deadline to submit applications had closed on the 17th of August. Today is the 2nd of September. So have they been extended?
I'm not sure, but I'm not
No.
aware of that. I don't
No, I
think
don't
so.
think they've been extended this year. I think it's something we need to think about for next year, like how we market it, how do we get the word out? I think there obviously, all of us that have made our careers in tech, we know that there are systemic issues around, women and representation and all the things that we do all the time to try and help with that is, we need to up those and continue that. But I do think that there might be an issue with uh, getting the word out to agencies and to
Yeah.
people that we like, here's when nominations close.
I just want to go back to format and so we have the Splash Awards, we have Women in Drupal, so those are some great sub events kind of happening at DrupalCon.
Mhm.
Any unique or different formats? And no is an okay answer to that question. I'm just curious, as somebody who organizes events, like I always like to figure out like what new format are you trying, and do you think it'll work?
We've
Catherine,
got some
I'm gonna let you field that one.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that.
No,
Yeah,
no
we
worries.
got some workshops there. I think those are always great, and they're sort of they're under marketed again. They're underrepresented. They're not talked about enough. But we've got two great ones. Again, we're going to throw AI in there, and I feel like we could get ourselves in trouble if we played some sort of game with every time somebody mentions AI in
There
any
you
of
go.
these type of podcasts.
Hmm.
But yeah, we've got an AI one, and it's good because it's beginner level, right? It's basically getting up and running with AI. So how do you start at the beginning? Which I think is going to be attractive to a lot of people who are coming. And then we have one on accessibility and sustainability, and I think that that is becoming more and more important. I mean, it's always been important, but it's something that is increasingly more important as we start thinking again about AI, and what that's costing us, and how it's generating code, and how it's generating front end. What is it building? These are all important things. So those workshops are great because it gives people an opportunity to engage and to get their hands on things and to ask in the context of learning, which is lovely.
That is awesome. All right, James, go for it.
Yeah, so we were talking about, the Women in Drupal award. I see also that the Splash Awards are going to be at DrupalCon Vienna this year. So for folks that don't know even what the Splash Awards are, can you share a little bit with us about what those awards are and about that event at DrupalCon Vienna?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it celebrates group of projects in the industry by different categories. So companies and agencies can self-nominate their projects and
Hmm.
see who wins in each category.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah,
Company.
Catherine, do you have anything to add to that?
I want to hear your question. You look
Yeah.
very serious with it. You're scratching your chin. You're ready now. Now I'm like excited to hear the question.
So I'm just interested or wondering, like the Splash Awards feel like they were kind of done separately from DrupalCon, but they always kind of aligned with DrupalCon slightly, but it's always been DrupalCon Europe, and I'm wondering why it doesn't align with DrupalCon in North America, or like if there isn't a version in North America, and like I feel like it might have started as like a separate thing and then kind of got brought into DrupalCon. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any backstory there or understanding.
Well, I think Europe's just more fun, John.
Uh, at risk of being kicked out, I don't disagree, but um,
But
Seriously, I have no
it just
idea.
actually started. It started as a separate thing. I think it started in the Netherlands in Drupal Jam, but I'm not quite sure. And then like the different countries started doing that. And obviously it's like if you want to scale that, you need like the European one. And I don't think it's a crazy idea that it ends up like being exported to the US.
yeah, I mean, I hope it does, because it seems I don't know, it seems fun. and it seems like it's wildly popular. So I hope they do import or export, however you'd like to put it, that into a North America DrupalCon in the future. If anybody's listening,
you're on the jury for the Splash Awards. Tell us about that.
I think all three
how
of
many
us are.
submissions? Oh, all three of you are. Okay. Yeah. So being on the jury, how many submissions do y'all review, and what's that process look like?
Yeah, so we all got, I think, about 12 entries randomly generated. And there was obviously overlap. So I think maybe 5 or 6 raters rated each group. And we had a very defined set of criteria, like 8 different points, such as business case, Drupal value, UX, things like that. And we basically spent time to evaluate each one, rate them, and then the averages were done by the back then. And we don't even know the winners yet, but I believe the nominations are on the site right now, the ones that are in the nominated group.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting projects. It was really difficult to rate, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. I bet. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. All right. So, without spoiling the surprise.
No, the question's in there so that we can spoil the surprise. Go for it.
We can spoil the surprise. Are there any hints of what we can maybe expect or look forward to with the Dries note at DrupalCon Vienna? Do any of you know?
You wouldn't know.
Christina's looking very suspicious.
I can tell you something, but I would prefer you don't share that in public. It's going to be about AI.
You should probably not say it then.
It's going to be AI, Canvas, and maybe something related to site templates. But don't tell anyone that I've said that.
All right.
Something around those lines. I hope maybe not. So
I think you're I mean, I think we all kind of figured that it was going to be the topics. So I mean, that's surprising or shocking, but hey, you know what? I think let's see. Last year's European DrupalCon was in Barcelona, right? Yes. Okay. So I think the Dries note from DrupalCon Barcelona was there was a lot of great stuff in there. It was like, oh boy, when can we start using this stuff? So I'm happy to see that the European DrupalCons are kind of getting getting at least in my view to the level of an Apple keynote where they're like, but there's one more thing. I don't know. Drupal now ships with free cookies. I don't know. Whatever. So I think that's great. There's also another keynote speaker. That's accurate, right? So Dries is doing the Dries note, and then there's another keynote. Who is that person? And I'm sorry that I don't know.
Is it Vera on? Well, we've got 3 other keynotes. I think you might be talking about Vera. Are you talking about the one on neurodiversity?
That's the one. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So there's other keynote content there, which is going to be very cool. Let's dig back into that Dries note a little bit more though. I'm curious. So obviously Drupal Canvas is now Drupal Canvas. It has a new name, but spoilers, do we have any ideas? Are we expecting a Drupal Canvas 2.0 or Drupal Canvas now with magic features, or any ideas on what's on the Drupal Canvas front?
Well, I hope there is a Drupal Canvas 1 instead of a Drupal Canvas 2 at Vienna, because otherwise someone is going to have a heart attack.
Sorry, maybe it's a 1.1, 1.2, 1.0. I don't know. I just clearly should know what version they're at. But are we expecting very, very cool new features in what we see in Canvas?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Laurie talked about that, but like the goal is to there are like a lot of other goals, especially like Canvas itself has its own roadmap, but like I can talk about like the Drupal CMS perspective, and what we're aiming is to have Drupal CMS and Canvas shipped together. And there is something on Drupal CMS that Canvas needs to have, which is support for structured content types. So that's one of the big things that I think it's going to be a big deal in terms of like real projects start implementing that. So I think that's one of the strategic points to expect. And there's more stuff, but I'm not like the expert on Canvas.
I think all in all, it's going to be very exciting. So we look forward to seeing what Dries has in store.
Yeah, getting back to the keynotes a bit, I'm curious what other keynotes there are for DrupalCon Vienna and why they were chosen.
Well, we've got Vera, who's just a great speaker, and I think that the talk about neurodiversity being a benefit to companies is hugely important, and I think it's just a great one to have, right? If we look at,
Yeah.
you know, ADHD and she's focusing on some particular examples and use cases. I think ADHD is one that comes up.
High sensitivity is another one.
Yeah, autism. Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about how things like the ability to focus, right? Recognizing patterns, the ability to think a little bit differently, that these are actually benefits to organizations, and challenging the mindset that they are hindrances is a very important way to approach that discussion. So that should be a really good one.
Yeah.
As mentioned earlier, I'll be moderating the web in 2035, a keynote panel on the future of the web, because we all like it when people sit around and talk about the theoretical. But that will be Sebastian, Derek, Andre, as I mentioned earlier, and then Sachiko Muto, who's the chair of Open Forum Europe, and she's a policy strategist. So she's going to bring to the table that perspective, where it's not just the engineering, open source perspective, although she does have a technical background. She's going to bring in the policy strategy perspective, and we're just going to be sitting around talking about where we think the web is going to be in 2035.
Right.
Given the speakers, we're going to be talking certainly about standards and the role that we see that playing. We're going to be talking about obviously policy. We're going to be talking about how developers can adjust. What are some traits that somebody who's new in the development world, maybe somebody who's just beginning out, what are some traits that they can develop in order to still be here, right, in 2035 and be happy and be fulfilled in this industry? Those sorts of things we're going to discuss. So I think that's going to be, if it plays out the way that I hope it does, that's going to be an interesting and engaging but very laid back kind of conversation on stage. Where
it's interesting because it sounds like it's going to be, as you just said, it's going to be laid back. And I was going to ask, like, as a moderator, what I don't know, what tone are you going to take? Like doom and gloom future of web, or like sunshine and unicorns future of web? But like, I don't know, laid back future of web sounds pretty good to me too.
Yeah. I'm not sure I can do doom and gloom, John. I don't think that's in my blood.
Question on the keynotes while I'm thinking about it. Are those going to be recorded and available for folks to watch after the fact?
Yes. Sorry, I was trying not to talk too much again.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that we can catch those keynotes afterwards, because I feel like there are real good set of topics here.
Yeah. And there's one more keynote, right?
It looks like there's another panel, like
the Drupal CMS team talks. Yeah. Usually there's one of Drupal initiatives, Drupal CMS.
So, Antonella, can you tell us if DrupalCon Vienna has any training planned that you're aware of?
training, I'm not aware of any in any of the tracks. In ours, we don't have anything like that this year. But I know that there's the mentorship, the contribution day, where there's a lot of training happening there.
And Catherine, you did talk about workshops, so those kind of fall into that training bucket. Other than I think the two that you mentioned, are there others that are going to be provided?
No.
So at DrupalCons, I'm a big fan of the special community social events. Are there social events, after parties, as they might be called in some places, planned for DrupalCon Vienna?
Yeah, there are.
Great.
We've got the opening reception. That's always fun. We've got trivia night. Actually, the trivia night's pretty awesome. And if you have not been to trivia night, I highly suggest coming. The people who run that are hilarious.
Nice.
And they do accept bribes.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
I was a
I can
co-host
confirm.
for Atlanta trivia night, and there were some folks that were like, "Yeah, I'll buy you a drink." It's like,
I was happy. The last trivia night I went to, there was a Talking Drupal question, and I got it right.
I should hope so.
Which I was like, yes. And everybody's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "I was there."
Yeah.
Sure.
For people that want something a bit more formal, there's an agency leaders dinner where all the agency owners get together and talk about things.
Agency owner things.
Yeah. It's usually
There you
actually
go.
quite fun. I've been to those are actually quite fun to go to and worth going to as well. There's the community, I think, isn't there, Christina? There's the volunteer community night,
And there's I'm not sure if there's company parties also, but
any
if
big
I would
sponsor parties.
Always.
I'm not sure which ones, but I would say that obviously Trivia Night is the most authentic to the Drupal community one. But I would recommend to everyone first go to the first one on the first day. That what you did say the name of the opening reception. That one, I think that's strategic, to catch up with everyone. And if you're landing in DrupalCon for the first time, the place to meet people. It's a really open place for that.
Yeah. It sounds like an incredible event, just reflecting back on all the keynotes, all the work y'all have done in organizing the sessions and everything that's going to be there. So can people still buy tickets?
Everybody's shaking their head. Yeah.
Up to the last day. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if folks want to buy tickets, where would they go?
I think right on DrupalCon Vienna. Just to search on DrupalCon Vienna 2025 and register.
And if you go, exactly, and if you want to go with your company, there you can actually get a bunch of tickets or more at once. So check it out. There are several options.
Interesting. I actually just went to Drupal.org in anticipation for seeing a big banner that was like, "Hey, DrupalCon," and I don't actually see one. So slightly.
Well, we will add the link.
We'll put the link in the show notes so that everybody goes and buys tickets, because I think it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, sounds incredible. And thanks for all the work y'all did in organizing it. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, we organized a local camp that just has 2 days, and that's an enormous amount of work. I can't imagine how much work goes into organizing a full-blown DrupalCon over a few days. All right, Cristina, Antonella, and Catherine, thank you guys all for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It has.
Thank you so much.
Do you have questions or feedback? Reach out to Talking Drupal on the socials with the handle Talking Drupal, or by email with show@talkingdrupal.com. You can connect with our hosts and other listeners on Drupal Slack in the Talking Drupal channel.
Would you like to be a guest on Talking Drupal or our new show, TD Cafe, you can click on the guest request button in the sidebar of talkingdrupal.com.
You, yes, you, listener, can promote your Drupal community event just like Badcamp did today. Go to talkingdrupal.com/TD-promo to find out more.
And you can get the Talking Drupal newsletter to learn more about our guest hosts, show news, upcoming shows, and much more. You can sign up for the newsletter at talkingdrupal.com/newsletter.
And thank you, patrons, for supporting Talking Drupal. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can learn more about becoming a patron at talkingdrupal.com and choosing the Become a Patron button in the sidebar.
All right, Cristina, if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you or have any questions or possibly sponsor you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Either the contact form through Drupal.org or directly through LinkedIn, or shoot an email to me at christina.permet.bungat, and probably we're going to share that, because if I have to spell that in English, it's not going to sound as good as in Catalan.
There you
All
go.
right.
And Cristina, before we move on, I just want to highlight the fact that you are looking for core contribution sponsorship so you can continue your work on Drupal CMS. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it would be great to, instead of focusing on consulting and freelance work, I could invest that time actually on improving Drupal itself and help define what comes in the future, and invest the time on that.
Yeah, so that's important. That's super important work. So if you're sitting there listening to this and you own a company, or you're sitting on a massive amount of gold coins and you want to help an open source project, you can sponsor some of Christina's time to keep working on Drupal CMS and pushing Drupal forward. So I would say that you should probably do that. Just saying.
And the Drupal Association has a plan, and an agreement for that. So it could be together with the Drupal Association. So open for options.
Hey, listen, if you're listening, you too can make the world a better place. Just saying.
And Antonella, if our listeners have questions or comments for you, how can they best get in touch with you?
Same thing, linkedin.com/in/Antonella, because I'm old enough to have grabbed LinkedIn, my own name.
That is amazing.
That's all I know. I was like, oh, LinkedIn, yeah, let me try this. I mean,
very cool. And Catherine, how about you?
Yeah, not LinkedIn. I have shunned it. I'm off of it. I'm going against the flow. But you can reach me on Drupal Slack, or you can reach me at catherine@mindcraftgroup.com, whichever you want.
What's your Drupal Slack username?
It's Caterina, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm
James,
also
how
on
about you?
Drupal Slack.
Oh, what's your username there, Antonella?
Antonella Severo.
Very easy. And James, how about you?
Yeah, y'all can find me at tugboatqa.com. If you want to book a demo, you can go to /demo on that site, and I'd love to chat with you. I also just quick want to reiterate the Cristina sponsorship. I have worked with Cristina for several years, and she is incredible to work with. She has such a eye to detail and just a big picture view of how to contribute to making Drupal more user-friendly. And yeah, please sponsor.
And John, how about you?
You can find me personally at Picozzi.com and on Drupal.org and the social networks at John Picozzi. And you can find out more about EPAM at epam.com.
And you can find me at Nixvan, NICXVAN, pretty much everywhere.
And as usual, if you've enjoyed listening, we've enjoyed talking. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.